All right, we are live with another edition of the State of Bitcoin podcast. I'm here with at Pierre Corbin at Sierra Bourbon or Porbin. How would you say that
Right.
on Twitter?
Yeah, Sierra Corbin, I guess. It's just,
Sierra
inversing the
Bourbon.
first letters, name and
Yeah,
surname.
exactly. So you are the director, producer, all of the above of the Great Reset and the Rise of Bitcoin. It was a great film. I actually just rewatched it again this week just to make sure I was caught up with everything. But
Right. Was it as
so
good the second time?
yeah, it was for
Yeah.
sure. Um, so let's take it back to before this film. Tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you find Bitcoin? I guess give me your orange pill story and everything like that. And yeah.
Yeah, so first before finding Bitcoin, I found crypto, let's say, before deciding to focus. So I think, that's a bit of a classic story as well, getting into some shit coins because that was 2017, when I really started digging deep into the whole space, and yeah, made the mistake of getting into shitcoins first, of course with some Bitcoin as well, right? But try and increase the amount of fiat because that's all I cared about at the time, that I had. And I was very happy while everything was booming, and then everything started breaking down. And this is when, little by little, as crypto was dying, that I kind of realized what is the power of Bitcoin, and just little by little studying some more, because out of every project that was, deep in trouble, and that was just worthless after that, because some exit scams or whatever reason, many founders even exited this stuff. Little by little, the only thing that was left to look at from my portfolio that was worth anything was really Bitcoin. And so I started really digging deep, and I just yeah, loved it, basically. And I was working my corporate job, uh, as a consultant for Accenture. And I was just spending so much time at work, checking the charts, reading Twitter, checking out new articles that would have come out, and so on. And just researching and researching, um, until eventually I just thought, well, um, it's enough. I was trying to see at work what the company is doing to try and, push towards Bitcoin and this entire, amazing space that I was passionate about. But there was no development there. So eventually I thought, okay, I think it's time to go. And so I quit my job, and was trying to figure out what I can do to, you know, work on Bitcoin, focus on that. And yeah, and then I just started thinking, like, um, what am I good at? What are my skills? And I'm very good at research, and putting stuff down, telling stories, explaining all, a bunch of stuff. And so I decided to just make a film, which was a bit of a crazy idea because I never made a film. I was like a consultant in tech, so filmmaking was just something that I enjoyed. I always loved cinema kind of stuff, but it was all. I mean, yeah, I never thought I would actually right now be doing, film. So crazy project, but it worked out really, really good, and it was, a lot of work, but fascinating to dig even deeper, because when you try and explain something in very simple terms, then it requires you to have a very good understanding. Therefore, you need to do a lot of research on the topic before you can actually explain it in a very comprehensive way. So I learned a lot while doing it, both in terms of Bitcoin, in terms of filmmaking, and uh, and it was awesome. It was awesome. If ever anyone likes filmmaking, just go for it. It's and so good to do it relating to Bitcoin, because I think that it's such an important topic, right? It's what I mean, for me, is the only thing that is worth spending my time on working on, even if it's for free, because it just adds so much value to humanity, I believe, freedom. So no, yeah, it's really good, really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so I mean, a couple things to unpack there for sure. So, I mean, surprised. I'm very surprised that this seems like it was your first film that you made. I mean, it seems like it's very well done and everything like that. So, but I think like one thing that Bitcoin has kind of encouraged a lot of people to do is, just like you said, follow your passion, figure out something that you like, and there's something that you can contribute to the space that it's growing so rapidly. Um, so one thing I want to talk about as well, like with the film, is the way you kind of laid it out. I thought was very interesting. You kind of laid out some major issues with the overall fiscal policy and the monetary policy right now, and you kind of started at the beginning of COVID, with like a lot of the money printing and everything like that. Did you start like making this film, like during that time, or was it more so like you were making the film to kind of explain Bitcoin and then all this stuff kind of just happened?
Um, no, so I started working on the film in July of last year, right?
Okay.
So all of this was already happening. What I simply, COVID, of course, is not the start of the situation that we're in, but it really accelerated things, right? And this was also the mind opening thing for me. Well, first off, COVID lockdowns, I was a lot at home. So I had even more time to like dig into my lifestyle had changed completely, right? I went from going every second date after work for drinks with, my friends or colleagues to just being at home. And well, what do? I just love researching stuff and digging deep into some topics. So that's just what I started doing, and when I was well, actually, part of the reason why I started with these topics in the film is because I read the article that Dylan Leclerc wrote about. That was based on the video by Ray Dalio, How the Economic Machine Works, where he was just laying down the three things that happen in deleveraging events. And Dylan Leclerc was taking these three elements and just summarizing them in an article, and then kind of added how Bitcoin could fit into this context. And I thought, okay, this is super interesting. It's a great way to tell the story and explain it to people. But both Ray Dalio's video as well as Dylan Leclerc's article were lacking data and today's data. And so I thought that's a perfect way to introduce in a simple way uh, economic concepts, that a lot of people don't necessarily understand unless they're into Bitcoin, right, or like into finance. Then a lot of people don't understand this stuff, and try and explain them a very simple way and make people realize why there's something wrong there and how down the road it really concerns them. Because if you understand this background, then Bitcoin just makes sense, right? This is why my film starts with this base layer as to our system is the way it is and we're fucked. And what can we do, kind of, and why do we think Bitcoin is the way out of this? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so you went from basically like COVID, and then you kind of, backtracked a little bit to, what I the hashtag that was trending some time ago is what the fuck happened in 1971, right? So you kind of brought it back to, explaining the ins and outs of Bitcoin, how it kind of solves it, and how it's the underlying issues with the monetary policy, which I really like. So exactly like you said, is a lot of the things that were in the film were things that I kind of learned along my Bitcoin journey when I was going through and figuring it all out. So was this who was the, I guess, the intended audience for this? Was this more to orange pill people? Was it more kind of like self-fulfilling, where you're like, this is something that I would like to, for everything to be completely laid out? Who is kind of your intended target when you were making this?
Um, so I think it was mostly, yeah, to orange pill people, because the yeah, swear jar. Sorry about that. I guess that's Len. I'm sorry I offended you, Len.
No, I
uh,
swore, so that's fine.
yeah.
One thing
Um,
off.
yeah. So what was I gonna say? I forgot now.
Yeah,
What
sorry,
was
you
your
said
question again?
the documentary was to orange pill people. It was basically like, who
Right.
was your
Yeah.
intended audience? Yeah.
Yeah, because of course, especially the moment when I decided to quit my job, focus on Bitcoin, a lot of people around me were just, are you crazy, Pierre? Is everything all right? Like, what are you going to do? You're not going to have a salary for the close future. Oh my God, like, and so I kept on having these conversations with people where I ended up explaining to them why I think it's the most important thing I should work on, and also simply why it could impact them. Because you just start a small conversation about Bitcoin, and people that don't understand it have a bunch of questions. And I mean, I've already been up till 4 a.m. multiple times with individual friends trying to explain and going through many of the concepts. So it was just a good way, I think, to orange pill people, but at scale, and that's why I tried to include a lot of topics around
I think
Bitcoin in
to
it, and just make sure that all of it was explained in a simple way. And I believed I managed to do that. I don't know. That's the feedback that I get, and also what I wanted to make sure that I would do was to make sure that I cover topics that Bitcoiners will agree on, right? Will just the Bitcoin message, because it was important in order for this film to be able to spread out and be shared around, for it to really explain the core values of Bitcoin. And and yeah, and this is how I managed to get it, shared and become more popular, simply because I'm spreading the right word, the Bitcoin word.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, I think it's really well done. And I see like on YouTube it got picked up by Bitcoin Magazine, and it seems like, it's definitely increasing popularity throughout the Bitcoin space. I believe you're in El Salvador right now. So
Yeah.
where has this film taken you? Like, obviously you're I don't know, are you from El Salvador, or where are you from, and where has this all taken you from you there?
Yeah, so I'm half French, half Spanish originally, but I grew up in Poland. Spent most of my life there, and I was working in Poland until June last year, and yeah, where has the film taken me? Well, I don't know, many places. Well, first off, working on the film the way I did allowed me to do it remotely from, I don't know in how many countries I worked on this film, but I was just traveling, just me and my girlfriend traveling around the world, trying to see places, live in different places for a certain amount of time, and in the end, yeah, it brought me to El Salvador, which was a decision a lot based off the fact that there's the Miami conference coming up, and I was planning on going there anyway. Therefore, you know. We were actually sitting in Dubai and wondering, okay, so what are we going to do next? Because we wanted to move, and we knew that we were going to end up in Miami, be on this side of the world. So we thought, okay, maybe we just go there early in El Salvador. It was a great idea. I think a great opportunity to just come here, meet a lot of Bitcoiners, and so spent here a month already, or not quite. Soon a month. By the time I leave, which is next Tuesday, I will have been here one full month. And man, this place is awesome. I really recommend it. So I spend most of my time in El Zonte, which is of course where Bitcoin Beach is placed. And there's just so many Bitcoiners here. It's either surfers or Bitcoiners, and I enjoy both. Right, I suck at surfing, but I still try it out. And Bitcoiners are just everywhere you look. There's even last week, or no, on Monday I believe it was, there was a meetup organized by Max Kaiser and Stacy Herbert. There was um, uh, yeah, Austin Hill that was here, and yeah, there was someone else. I forgot who it was. But anyway, just here doing a meetup, trying to bring Bitcoiners together, and it's cool to be able to meet these people, chat up with them, and talk about potential future projects and see what people are doing here. I mean, some Bitcoiners are seriously considering moving here, are buying land around El Zante, and are thinking of the next steps for them here in El Salvador. And when you spend some time here, it makes you want to do the same thing. To be honest, it's a bit of a paradise here, very relaxing, and just with the right kind of vibe.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it, and it seems like it's growing in popularity. I think, one thing, whether El Salvador has received its criticisms and from the no coiners and the outsiders of the Bitcoin world for making Bitcoin legal tender. But I think one thing that nobody can really deny is that it's definitely helped the travel of El Salvador. I mean, I know I, for one, I would have never really thought of traveling to El Salvador before making Bitcoin legal tender. And now it's one of those things where I definitely want to get out there and definitely want to, go and explore it and see everything they got going on there. And so are you kind of in the similar space there? Do you think you would have made it down and stayed a month in El Salvador if it wasn't for Bitcoin becoming legal tender? And on
Yeah.
a follow-up question, are you thinking of moving down there yourself as well?
So no, I mean definitely I wouldn't have considered El Salvador unless it was legal tender here. It felt a bit like a pilgrimage. I mean, literally, I have like there's some coffee, local coffee. It's some Satoshi Genesis. Like I mean, there's just this kind of stuff going on, which is very funny. It's like a lot of meme stuff. Although it's coffee bots with Bitcoin, obviously, um, and yeah. So there's just everything about Bitcoin around here, especially in El Zonte, right? Because you go out of El Zonte and the adoption isn't as big as it's here, right? There's a lot of places that accept Bitcoin, but a lot of places that don't and just spend US dollars, but because it's still very early, right? Like you can't just change people's minds about this. But everywhere I go, I try and orange pill people, whether because so I speak Spanish, right, which is very useful, and
Yeah.
so even when being on a bit of a boat tour, because I try to travel around the country, visit everything, on a boat tour with a 50-year-old man that knows nothing about technology, knows about Bitcoin, has a Chivo wallet, and just held the 30 bucks that he received. Um, and yeah, explaining him why Bitcoin, why it's worth it, why just trying to orange pill people, and they're very interested, obviously, because they realize that there it has to be something if there's people just traveling here for this, people that have a lifestyle like mine where it working is optional if you choose to, right? And so it's yeah um it's nice like that. But would I consider moving here? I don't know. There's a lot of things that make you. Okay, I'll say it differently. For now, this was my first visit. 1 month here is already, big part of the year, right?
Mhm.
Um, I wouldn't be against spending another month here, even in the near future, because of the vibe. It's just very special, and I think it's a great place to try and network and meet people because. Um, it's adopting Bitcoin. The government is serious about it, and it's the kind of things that can bring a lot of opportunity in general to the country and to the people that live here. And I think it's got the chances of being one of the fast developing countries in the coming decade, while other countries may suffer because of this monetary reset that we're in. I think El Salvador, given the approach that they have, has chances of getting out of it ahead, as opposed to losing like others will. So very bullish on El Salvador, as you can see. But we'll of course have to see how this will unwind and how external pressures that are being put on El Salvador and the region as a whole will unwind and develop. To you know make this the place where everyone wants to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Bitcoiners as a whole are very bullish on El Salvador, but I think a little bit more rides on it than we like to give it credit for. I think a lot of people in Latin America and other countries across the world are kind of looking at this El Salvador experiment to see kind of how it plays out and whether or not they should adopt it. And it seems like El Salvador is doing a really good job. And the thing that I really like seeing Bukele, especially on Bitcoin Twitter, I mean, uh, going at people and just kind of like sticking his foot on the ground and being very, standing up for his position and not really backing down at any sign of, difficulties. And one of those difficulties has been the Chivo wallet. And we actually have the Canadian Bitcoiners in the crowd asking, have you been using the Chivo wallet? And if so, what are your thoughts? Just I get a little brief. The Chivo wallets, the El Salvadorian government, they issued a wallet and gave everybody in El Salvador, I believe, like 30 or 40 bucks USD amount in Bitcoin when they first rolled it out as legal tender. They recently, I think, went for better developments in the Chivo wallet as well, and kind of rolled out an upgrade. But they have, I want to say, about like 4 million downloads of the app, but I think only like 100,000 active users. So just a little background on the app. But yeah, tell me, are you using it, or what? If so, what are your thoughts?
So I believe that in order to use Chivo Wallet, you need to have a local ID. So it's only for Salvadorans, right? And I think that's just a requirement that they put in order to, make sure they just don't double send $30 worth of Bitcoin to their population. Um, so I'm not using it. Obviously, I'm using Moon Wallet here, but I'm using the Chivo ATMs in order to be able to withdraw US dollars using my Bitcoin, which are quite fast. I would say it depends actually. Most of the time they work on Lightning, but I did have one transaction that was directly off the blockchain main layer, which obviously means you pay a certain fee for that. Right now, fees are cheap, so it's all right. But yeah, so it depends on how lucky you are. I'm not sure why sometimes it will go from Lightning to main layer. But there's Chivo wallets, Chivo ATMs. In most towns, there's one here in El Zonte, obviously at Bitcoin Beach. Um, but there's yeah, I've seen some in many places. I know that locals I mean, they got Chivo wallet obviously. Um, a lot of people withdrew the money already, and there was a bit of like bugs earlier. That's part of why they had to um, uh, bring out new versions right now. Because I mean, I even have a friend that was mentioning some person that she knows that found a way to use how would you say it, like use a certain bug that was there to increase his own Bitcoin holding. So the Chivo wallet was built a bit kind of just a quick rollout. I haven't worked in tech previously. I know what it's like to roll out something too quickly without the right tests. I think that's kind of what happened. So I think that was a bit of a mistake on their side. They of course wanted to hold to the 7th of September deadline, which makes sense. You announce it, something so big, you have to deliver. But when I've had conversations with locals, some of them lost trust in Bitcoin because of this lost trust in Chivo wallet, right? And they assimilate too much Chivo to Bitcoin. So that requires some additional orange pilling work, but that's what I'm trying to do. I have the advantage of speaking Spanish to be able to clarify this to people, to make them understand that Bitcoin is one thing. You can just create uh, apps or anything that is around it and connected to it. It doesn't mean it's Bitcoin, right? It's just an interface to Bitcoin. So just some more education needed, and it's a shame that some decisions sometimes will take you 2 steps forward, then 1 steps backwards, right? That's just how things go, and Bitcoin is a complicated topic. So I guess that's just how Bitcoin development and adoption has to go.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, exactly like you said, it's the interface. So it's kind of unfortunate that they did that. But I also think, it's one of those things where they decided to do it, and they're like, okay, this is such a great technology. This will help our population and everything like that, our country as a whole, so quickly, that we might as well just roll it out and figure it out as we go. And there's definitely going to be bumps in the road, and it seems like El Salvador and Bukele are definitely willing to roll with those bumps. So as long as he stays where he's at, I think they're in good position going forward, especially with the leadership.
Mhm.
Well, let's move on to some more current events going on in Bitcoin, and I want to hear some of your thoughts on how you're feeling about Bitcoin adoption, and some certain stories that I picked out. So the first
All
one
right.
I'm going to bring to you is MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor buying more Bitcoin. So an arm of MicroStrategy called MacroStrategy is taking out a $250 million loan to acquire more Bitcoin. And so with this estimated price of about 47,500 dollars, US dollars per Bitcoin, MicroStrategy is going to put another about 4,300 Bitcoin on their company balance sheet. And now, according to their last SEC filing, they have over 125,000 Bitcoin. So Michael Saylor continues to buy and continues to be super bullish on the space and on Bitcoin as a whole. How do you feel about Michael Saylor? I guess whaling in anytime he can and keep adding to his company balance sheet.
Yeah, so I think it's I mean Michael,
Oh, might be having a
can you
little
hear me?
technical. Yep,
Yep, all
I can
right. I
hear.
think I'm good. Yeah, you can hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you now. We're good. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Bit of a bug here.
Yeah.
So I think that Michael Saylor, he's quite the Bitcoiner, um, and whenever he buys a lot of Bitcoin this way, I do take it as some good news. I mean, it shows that he's doubling down. And it's important for hardcore Bitcoiners to continue, especially someone in his position that is in direct contact with so many institutional investors and has such a high position in the fiat world as well. I think it's important for people like him to show that they're serious about this and that they continue buying it. Now, at the same time, of course, it's Bitcoin accumulating under one. I mean, of course, not one address, I guess they handle, but it's his leadership, and it puts Bitcoin as a whole a bit at risk, I believe. But they're at how much do you say? 140,000 Bitcoin?
125,000 Bitcoin.
125,000. Yeah, so there's 21 million Bitcoin, so we're not yet to the point where I think this is big risk, but still it's little by little a growing monopoly there. Now at the same time, if I'm not mistaken, this entire Bitcoin was bought off a loan where they used Bitcoin as collateral, right?
Mhm.
And I
Yep.
think this is also an important point because it is such a use case. It's because it is the hardest asset, so it has to be used as collateral. And it's something that people need to understand because it unlocks a lot of things when it comes to what it means to hold Bitcoin for the long term and Bitcoin's relation to fiat. I was even this morning, having a conversation. So just trying to orange pill people in my network that are high value individuals that in this case it was about Bitcoin mining and seeing if it's something they could get into eventually, and just giving this exact use case. You mine Bitcoin, like if you need cash, you don't need to sell your Bitcoin, you just use it as collateral, and this is how you can run your expenses and your cash flows as a business, and it's an extremely good use case, and so this is good that they're going with this way, because it's another way of experimenting with Bitcoin instruments and proving to the world it's good, and you should do the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting that that they did that and used Bitcoin as collateral, and I think at least in the United States where I'm at, it seems like it globally as well. There's a lot more custodial wallets and other places that offer Bitcoin backed loans where you get you can use collateral or Bitcoin as collateral, maybe 25 to 30% loan to value at the time, and exactly what you said, not have to sell your Bitcoin. So, for me personally, I know when I first kind of got in, I got in around the same time as you in 2017, but at the time, I was in graduate school, so I didn't really have much money. And then I was kind of more so trading on it. But I started buying when I got my first real job in 2018, and my thought was I'll buy a house and I'll use the Bitcoin and some of the profits from Bitcoin to buy a second one as like a rental property or something like that to kind of help invest in real estate. But now, I have the option where I don't even really need to sell it, and I can kind of use Bitcoin back loan. And especially with the rapid housing prices here, at least in the United States, that's something that's extremely powerful. And it kind of helps me avoid any capital gains tax or anything like that that I'd maybe have to pay here too. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure if you know what custodian they use to get the Bitcoin back loan. I know we have the Canadian Bitcoiners here that said suggested maybe BlockFi. I'm not quite sure I know that detail of it, but if you know, you can feel free to butt in. But
No, yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest, and I'm not sure which of the existing, uh, providers is the best when it comes to doing this for institutional buyers, right? So, yeah, interesting. Maybe if we run into Michael Sater at the Miami conference, we can ask him.
yeah, maybe he'll divulge that. I don't know. Maybe he'll go into detail. And I don't know. Is he speaking? I'm not sure. I haven't kept
I'm not
fully.
sure.
Yeah, I haven't kept a close eye on the lineup just yet. Um, but yeah, let's get into the next story. So, Senator, it was announced today by Bitcoin Magazine and a couple others that Senator Ted Cruz, so he's the Texas senator, he's introducing a bill in the United States to prohibit the Federal Reserve to issue CBDCs. So, CBDCs have been kind of a hot topic as far as politicians go. And at least in the United States, it seems like politicians and, senators and everybody kind of in the government realm has become more aware of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin as a whole. And their solution to everything has been kind of pushing for CBDCs. Ted Cruz is like a Republican candidate, and it seems like he's been very aware of the ever changing Bitcoin landscape. And, for me personally, I'm always a little wary when politicians kind of get involved with anything. But it seems like Cruz here is very, I guess, bullish towards Bitcoin as he's kind of veering the government away from CBDCs. So, what are your thoughts on CBDCs as a whole, and kind of, I guess, one of the politicians actually, going against it?
Yeah. So, well, in my film, actually, there's an entire section about CBDCs that is,
Mm,
the doomsday kind of scenario. The music gets very
exactly.
tense, and because I think that's what it is. It's the worst direction we can go towards as a species. It's just full control for governments about everything that concerns our spendings, um, and just how we hold our money. Um, I know in Europe, the European Union, they've been talking about this quite a bit, and they've literally come out saying that they will put an expiry date on CBDCs. I guess maybe not all of them, but it's just the next step in making your citizens more dependent on the government. It's like the perfect scenario for them. I explain this also in my film, how um, social welfare has increased as a percentage of GDP with time. At the same, I mean, this mostly started, with 1971 was the moment it really spiked higher, but it started after the financial crisis of 1929, and it's in France, over 30% of the GDP goes for welfare spending, which means that there's just a lot of people that require this money in order to live, right? And these people are the ones that will be moving on to CBDCs eventually. They'll be the first ones, because if it's created, then the government will say, okay, we give you money, but now we give it to you via this CBDC, which removes any kind of privacy. Not that, there was a lot of privacy left with modern banking, but this is just direct control that they have. The fact that they introduce CBDCs means that they can get rid of commercial the work that they do. And this, I believe, is dangerous for our societies, because although we don't like what commercial banks do in general, and the fact that they can control so much of our capital, money, and so on, they're at least still a middleman that exists between our money and governments. Um, so yeah, so no, horrible on CBDCs, I have to say. I could continue talking about it, as to how it's the end of society as we know it, and people should. The only option that there is to get into Bitcoin to avoid this, and the sooner you do it, the better. Because right now in the EU, there today was voted this the potential of blocking any kind of private wallets, and it's
Mhm.
if you can get out of it soon, then it's the best. And I think that it's funny that it's Ted Cruz doing that, because before Bitcoin and understanding Bitcoin, I never understood the fact that Texas is about freedom. Like this is what people from Texas always said, and I couldn't really get it, right. And now it's kind of yeah, like it's impossible to disagree with that point, it seems. And the fact that this news comes out of Texas confirms it. It's amazing that um, there they have someone that gets it and that understands that this goes against freedom and would want it to be blocked at at a nation level. It's I think it's cool. They can be grateful for this kind of approach to it. And yeah, yeah, I really hope that there'll be other people in other places of the world that will start pushing back at this the way Ted Cruz did. He's hopefully setting an example. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I grew up in Texas, so I mean, Texas is always trying to be, one of the things, everything's bigger in Texas is kind of what they say, and exactly, Texas is all about freedom and everything. And it was actually a little history about it. It was its own state or its own country before it became part of the United States as well. So one of the few states that can actually say that. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's always kind of interesting like that. And Austin's also kind of becoming a Bitcoin hub as well. And a lot of Bitcoiners are kind of flocking there as well. So yeah, overall Texas is just becoming very bullish. They have a lot of oil rigs, and I know that they're kind of using that to mine Bitcoin using the flare gas and everything like that as well. So Len is in the crowd chirping me and says the only thing that is Texas about Brandon is that he bought a cowboy hat at a thrift store, which is not true. I don't own any cowboy hats or cowboy boots or anything like that. My family's from Chicago, so I'm a city boy at heart, not a
Uh-huh.
cowboy. But yeah, Texas overall, Ted Cruz, like you said, I mean, Len also said in here he's not sure if Ted Cruz is trying to get his name out there or what. I think there's a certain aspect of politicians, definitely in the United States too, that are kind of realizing that Bitcoin and I guess cryptocurrencies as well are kind of having a lot of headwind behind them. Meaning that if they react positively to them, they can get votes. And if they can get votes, that's how they kind of stay in power and get reelected. So I'm always kind of wary of it. But kind of like you were saying, it seems like CBDC is kind of like the doomsday scenario. And so after rewatching your film and seeing that remembering the full breakdown of CBDCs, I had to put this in there for you.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So the next story is kind of interesting, and I'd kind of like to hear your thoughts on this. So the state of New Hampshire in the United States is now to accept Bitcoin and crypto for tax payments, and they're now the fourth state in the United States, joining Colorado, Florida, and Wyoming, as which allow residents and businesses to pay taxes in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Before I kind of give my little spiel about it, what do you think about, I guess, states in the United States and like in other countries? I know in like Switzerland, as mentioned in your film, that there's some cities in Switzerland where you can pay in Bitcoin and crypto. What do you think of, giving your government, I guess some taxes in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? I guess just Bitcoin to the extent.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I don't think that's necessarily something people should do, right? Because it's cheaper, and especially if you think in the long term, it's cheaper to pay your taxes in fiat, right? Um, but um, but it's a use case, and I think this is pretty good. I think it's so it says two things. It says that governments are willing to accumulate some Bitcoin, um, or at least these local states or cities are willing to accumulate some Bitcoin, and this is quite good. It's a way for them to get their hand on some Bitcoin before actually buying it themselves. And making so much more of a story about it. It's just we allow our citizens, if they choose to spend their Bitcoin in order to pay taxes. And so I think, like, I see this as a fairly positive thing, right? Now I just wonder exactly how it works. Do you send it from your address to another address? In which case, I think you want to make sure this address. You manage to get your Bitcoin there as anonymously as possible, so they can't follow you down in the blockchain. And every other transaction that you did, there's tools out there that allow for more anonymity on the blockchain. Um, but but at the same time, it's a use case. It's I think Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, right? They're also doing the same thing. And the way they approached it is that you get a discount on your taxes if you pay with Bitcoin, right? And I mean, they're even more bullish on Bitcoin. They just want to get their hands on some of it, right? But I think it's the again just a use case. There's a reason for people to just buy Bitcoin to pay their taxes. They don't even need to be bullish on Bitcoin in the first place. They cannot care at all. But it's just one more reason for people to experiment with it, get their hands on it, and yeah, and try it out, right?
Yeah. So I guess 2 points to that is I also do like a little Twitter Spaces that I do on like Tuesday nights where I generally bring in a lot of like macro and stock market guys in the United States who, generally speaking, aren't necessarily Bitcoiners. And one of their criticisms that they always bring up to me when I'm in there is like, well, you can't pay taxes in it, you can't buy anything with it. Those kind of criticisms in the United States. And so now more states are rolling it out. So now I'm trying to see what their next kind of criticism of it is, what is going to
They'll
be.
find something.
Exactly right. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's the other. It's just going to be kind of like the cycle of the FUD. Um, but anyway, I mean, I think where I see it be kind of a good use case is potentially for Bitcoin miners. Whereas if you're mining Bitcoin and instead of having to mine Bitcoin and then, report the profit and then sell Bitcoin and then pay a capital gains tax on top of your tax, you could just, simply just send it over, as the tax payment instead of, the capital gains tax for liquidating it. And yeah, I mean, I just think overall for adoption, it's good. Would I necessarily pay my taxes in Bitcoin? No, not at all. I would try to avoid, giving the government any of my Bitcoin and hold on to it for dear life. And exactly like you said, right, it's going to be cheaper in the long run because the basic fundamentals of Bitcoin. But I had Brian Harrington on here last week, and he's a Choice app and everything like that, and he's out in California, and he just his thing is to get on zero with your dollars, or so not have anything and just use Bitcoin for everything. So whether that's buying coffee, paying your taxes, doing it with just about everything. And that'll just kind of continually help with adoption. And then soon enough, if you're not willing to pay in fiat, somebody's just going to have to accept it, in Bitcoin. So I think there's kind of two sides to it, but I'm definitely on your side here, where I'm like, I for one, I'm not going to give away my Bitcoin to the government, but some people may, and some people might see that as kind of a bullish case going forward. All right. So I guess on top of that, we have some Bitcoin mining news. So we have I guess two kind of things. So in the United States, there's the Bitcoin mining is now kind of flocking to coal mines. And obviously you're in
Mhm.
El Salvador, and they're trying to build the Bitcoin mining in the volcanoes, as well as the volcano bonds that have kind of been delayed, but they seem to be rolling out here shortly. So what do you think of like overall the use case and like I guess the energy FUD that's being thrown out about Bitcoin mining? Do you think that I guess how would you combat that to the average person? I know you went into a little bit of it in your film as well, but you're seeing a lot of the use cases kind of being developed now, where a lot of people are using renewable or flared off and lost energy. So how would you explain this to somebody like, all right, coal is not necessarily the best use of energy, and now they're using it to mine Bitcoin, and geothermal energy, it seems like it's going to be a lot of money and a lot of testing in order to mine Bitcoin. Why is that something that a government should spend money on, and people should invest time and energy into?
Yeah, so I'm one of the ones that, I guess, like most Bitcoiners, believe that Bitcoin is the solution actually to um, transition towards more renewable energies, or in general a more clean type of energy for our world. Because I mean, it's quite simple. It's simple math, It's miners have to get the cheapest energy that they can, right? There's basically three reasons for it, right? The first one is simply that that's the only competitive advantage you can have on your competition, right? You need to have cheap energy. Then there's the difficulty adjustment that happens about every 2 weeks, right? Which will automatically, if there's a lot of miners, will make it harder to mine. Therefore, it's the ones that will have an easier access to energy that will be more profitable than the others. And the third reason is the halving that happens every 2 years and makes Bitcoin mining twice as hard, right? So and all of this is just dependent on the energy, because they need to scale up, therefore consume more and more energy. And the energy that is cheap is energy that is renewable, right? Or um, the like more sustainable kind of energy, right? Um, and an energy like coal or gas in the long run is not the solution there, right? And the thing is that Bitcoin miners, in order to access these kind of energies, well, they can just tap into a bunch. I mean, they have a lot of options that are out there that energy producers are helping them to tap into, right? There's the flared gas kind of energy, which is, I mean, it's amazing. They can, I think, save up to 80% of the CO2 emissions that would normally be produced by flaring this, either excess gas or unused gases that come from the production of oil, and that's only thanks to Bitcoin that this kind of stuff can be done, right? Because for decades it has only been used for flaring, and the reason for that is simply because Bitcoin can be mined from anywhere. It doesn't have to be, close. I mean, yeah, you need minimal people there. You don't need to have offices next to your miners. Like, it's just easy to set up, and uh, and very uh, you know cost efficient in that case. And there's also, the simple idea that Bitcoin can be there to secure the grid that we have, right? Because it can increase the base layer consumption of nuclear, for example. And if you manage to increase this base layer, then you can replace the other, layers that were used until now, which were, oil, then I mean coal, oil, gas, and so on, um, that are there really to just manage the short-term demands in energy, right? And Bitcoin allows for a increase in the good type of energy. And yeah, exactly, Bitcoin is monetizing stranded energy sources because of these solutions, and and it allows to improve the base layer, and have Bitcoin miners become these demand reserves of energy that can be distributed to communities if they need it. So there's huge potential there, and I'm actually doing a lot of research on this topic now to try and orange pill people. So my dad always worked in energy, so he has a big network, and I'm trying to hit his contacts to try and tell them, show them, like, guys, like, it's happening. This is how it works. There's huge opportunity for you, for the world. And so yeah, I'm myself doing a lot of research on it and trying to educate myself a lot to be able to explain this as well as possible with data backing it, simply because I think that is one of the most important aspects of Bitcoin as well, right? That many people don't realize or understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of companies, and especially in the United States, we're getting news that a lot of these big giant oil companies, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, to name a couple, have been using their flare gas and either selling it to Bitcoin miners or using it to mine Bitcoin themselves, or with an additional company. And I think a lot of these companies are just kind of realizing, like, hey, we're having all this excess energy that we're losing. Might as well get some profit off of it. And, money talks at the end of the day. So, they're going to keep on doing that. And yeah, overall, just very, very bullish for the space. I guess my last little story before we get into a little bit about your feelings about Bitcoin Miami. A school in Dubai is now accepting Bitcoin as payment. Do you think that more and more schools will kind of follow this lead? And do you think that it'll kind of either, make education a little bit more accessible, or do you think it's just kind of a publicity stunt at this point?
Um, I think it's a bit more of a publicity stand, but I mean, yes and no, kind of, because at the same time, it fits with the direction that Dubai seems to be taking, which is, being more and more open with the Bitcoin, crypto in general, right? Um, which, um, I mean, Dubai has to do if they want to continue their way of development, which means bring foreign investment, bring foreign companies to install themselves here with the right, uh, tax incentives and so on. And if you think of Bitcoiners that I don't know, even myself, for example, that I don't have a place, right? I can just live wherever is the next place I can go to. Um, Being able to pay for even this kind of service in Bitcoin is definitely attractive, right? It's money you can use anywhere, right? So it's I mean, I think it's a positive thing, and I think that eventually down the road every school will accept Bitcoin for payment, right? So they're the first ones. I think, sure, it's a bit of a marketing kind of thing because they're first, but I don't think they're the last, and it will no longer be a marketing thing after a while when all of them accept it. So no, I think it's a good thing. It's bullish. It's bullish for Dubai, obviously, and for Bitcoiners that decide to move there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you nailed it on the head there. And Canadian Bitcoiners in the crowd also said schools are a business, and this is a good business decision. So it's just like in the United States, if
Exactly.
a small business would accept Bitcoin, which I was on a Twitter Spaces today, and they were kind of talking about small businesses and small business issues. I know me personally, when you walk around here in Tampa and you go to a local restaurant, you see a lot of signs that says our prices have increased due to inflationary issues and just our baseline costs increasing. And so it makes me think like a lot of these places have Square implemented where I could just swipe my credit card or something like that. Maybe soon with Jack Dorsey, coming onto the helm and focusing fully on there, maybe he'll implement the Lightning Network more so on like the peer to peer and allow businesses to accept Bitcoin as payment. But time will tell on that, I guess. So, yeah,
Hmm.
like Glenn said, business decision. So, good business decision going forward. All right. So, you kind
Yeah.
of alluded to it at the beginning. Bitcoin Miami, it's the biggest Bitcoin conference of the year. It's coming up next week. So, have you been to the Bitcoin Miami conference before? If so, tell us a little bit about your past experiences.
No, I haven't actually, and in fact,
Haven't.
so I'm
There we
quite
go.
excited. Obviously, I think no, I haven't, and I haven't been to any Bitcoin conference in the past. I've been to a blockchain conference that was in London years ago, but it's not the same thing. It was just about the tech, just a bunch of corporate guys there trying to figure out what they can do for their financial information systems, blah blah blah, and uh, yeah. So I'm pretty excited. In general, meeting up Bitcoiners is a cool thing, and it's exciting to be able to meet up with a lot of professionals as well. I'm going to try and be networking as much as possible, meeting as many people as possible, and to eventually meet people with whom you can get shit done, right? I think that's what it's about. After all, there's going to be some, I think, very interesting announcements that everyone is looking forward to hearing, and some speakers in general. But yeah, I'm gonna be there to try and meet people, have different ideas, what can be done to develop Bitcoin further, and the best way to get these ideas confirmed is to have conversations about it with people, and attend side events as well, and meet people that are here. I've met in El Zante and are going to be at the conference as well. So it's going to be exciting. Yeah, I'm going to a couple side events. I'm organizing my own side event.
All right.
That's on the first day. On the first day of the conference, on the 6th, there's going to be a screening of my film at a cinema that I rented out. It's right around the corner of the conference. It's a 15 minutes walk. Well, I recommend you to go there if ever. It's a good opportunity to meet. It's at 7 p.m. on the 6th. Yeah, 7 p.m. on Wednesday. So there's going to be BTC sessions there in Knut's farm home. So we're going to watch the film together, and then we're going to have this Q&A and discussion thing. I think it's going to be really cool. people. I made sure the tickets are dirt cheap, the price of a cinema ticket, just to try and bring people together. That's the only point of it. That's the point of my film in the first place. Getting into the Bitcoin space. So if if anyone is there and wants to like hang out, meet us, have a chat, I think that's a really cool plan. And Brandon, I'd love to see you there too.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, I think I'm gonna be there the 7th because the
Hmm.
6th industry day. Unfortunately,
Hmm.
I don't have the industry pass, so I'm just a measly
Hmm.
the Bitcoiner just trying to go and connect. But I'd love to grab a beer or something like that afterwards. But yeah,
For
give me
sure.
the details and everything like that, and I'll be sure to tweet it out and I'll put it in the show notes here as well. So anybody that listens to
Yeah.
this or watches it on YouTube before the conference can definitely go and buy tickets and everything like that.
Yeah,
So
it can be found either.
okay,
Yeah,
go
sorry,
ahead.
it can be found either, by checking out my Twitter profile, as it says right here, no, here, Sierra Corbin,
Yeah.
and or going on Eventbrite and searching for the Great Reset and the Rise of Bitcoin. Everything is there. But yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll go and I'll find that and I'll tweet it out and put in the show notes and everything like that as well. Other than like I guess connecting or anything, do you you kind of alluded to some big announcements? Do you have any like predictions of any big announcements that you're seeing? I know on Bitcoin Twitter, there's been kind of some rumblings of a little strike partnership with Apple about some peer-to-peer payments. So I
Yeah,
think,
I
that's
don't
kind of
know.
my
It's
prediction, but I don't know.
that would be, I prefer keeping my expectations low in order not to be disappointed. Now, yeah, I think this all comes from the fact that Jack Mallers has just been tweeting out some like old Apple ads and this kind of stuff. Therefore, yeah, I mean, it's the kind of news that I think would be very interesting, um, very exciting also, but I don't know. At the same time, it's it's the kind of ads, the ads he was sharing were very important ads in the development of Apple back in the day, right? Apple was very famous for all of its ads and so on. So maybe it's just a bit of a marketing thing, reuse these ads as an image to the fact that there's this big stuff coming. I don't know, like, but it's definitely exciting, and I'll definitely be there when Jack Mallers talks, because this guy is a legend. And whenever he talks about Bitcoin, it's your mind gets blown.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so final question here. How are you feeling about Bitcoin adoption going forward? What are your, I guess, do you have any big predictions for the next year or so? And if so, what are they?
um, in general, I'm very bullish. I think, it's happening exactly the way Bitcoiners have been thinking about it for a long time. And in fact, it's happening kind of faster than we thought, right? We never thought that a country would already have Bitcoin as legal tender now in 2021, because that's when it happened, right? So no, very bullish on Bitcoin adoption in general. There's so much happening in the space. I mean, it's just it's impossible to avoid it now, unless you're someone that stays in your cave. I don't follow a lot of sports, but whenever I'm randomly in a bar, and there's a sports game, whatever it is, there will always be some kind of crypto company, a Bitcoin company advertising. You watch Formula One, same thing. It's like it's just there, it's in everybody's face. We're still very early, so a lot of people still don't understand it, and just see it as like investing in the stock exchange or something. They don't necessarily realize what power it has and how important it is for their life. But that's our job as content creators, and
Oh, do we lose them? Might have some technical.
each time one step forward, and we're getting there. I think we're at like. Oh yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. So you cut out
Yeah.
just slightly,
Okay.
a little bit after your sports rant there, but yeah. So you were saying it was our job as
Okay.
like
Yeah.
creators.
No. Exactly. But people don't necessarily understand it, even though it's in their face. And it's our job as content creators to help people understand it. That's definitely, I guess, the purpose of your show here. That's the purpose of my film, and that's just what each of us can do to put our own brick and build this wall of understanding that Bitcoin is for the world.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you kind of mentioned sports. Even as somebody that doesn't watch a lot of sports, I think it's interesting that you notice that right away because, I'm a big sports guy and I love, all the different sports here, especially in the United States. We got baseball, American football, basketball, and everything like that. We have, and baseball, all the umpires, which are like the referees, so to speak, have like FTX right there on their shirt at all times. It's the main sponsor of the Major League Baseball. Then we got, NBA basketball stadiums named after crypto.com and FTX and sponsors on the jerseys and everything like that. I know that there's some rumblings in the NHL of having crypto sponsors as well. And then now the NFL is allowing crypto
Mhm.
companies to come in and sponsors, which is huge. Just for the average person is now like, okay, well, I'm going to a basketball game and it's, before it was the Staples Center and now it's crypto.com arena. So, you get that on national television and that gets announced all the time. It's just definitely at people's forefront and at the front of their mind too. So, it's definitely big for adoption and everything like that. All right. Pierre, thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Why don't you tell everybody, a little bit, I guess, a little closing remarks about the Great Reset and everything else?
Yeah, so I recommend anyone that hasn't watched the film to watch it. It's got a lot of traction. A lot of people consider it the best documentary they ever watched, the best Bitcoin documentary they watched. So, I mean, I think it's best for people to watch it, make their own opinion about it. For old-time Bitcoiners, it's mostly reiterates and shows data about what is actually happening, but it's also really a tool for new people that don't have knowledge about it to increase their knowledge and just understand the space as a whole. Yeah, it's a great tool for orange pilling people. So check it out to make sure you can use it yourself and send it to your friends. And again, let's meet at the Miami conference in the screening that I have. Look for it. Everyone is welcome. It's going to be really really fun, and just a chance to to meet, have a chat.
Yeah, for sure. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be there, but I wish I was, and I will tweet out all the details, the Eventbrite link, and everything like that. If you haven't seen the film, Pierre did a good job, explaining it and saying it's the best Bitcoin film that a lot of people have seen, and I'll back that up, and definitely commend you on the great job that you did, especially for the first film you've ever made. I would have thought that you'd done this for a long time, and this was just kind of something that you became interested in. So good on you for that. Good on you for orange pilling people and keep up the good work. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Can you hear me? Are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I lost that, but yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, yeah, but yeah,
All right.
thanks. I appreciate the kind words. I'm happy you enjoyed the film.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we'll end it here. And everybody in the chat, thank you so much for coming out. And everybody in audio, thanks for tuning in. All right. We are out.